'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash.
Tell me a better story.
Oh yeah, I'll just go right ahead and read you the other story that's been read to children for several decades on Christmas Eve.
Will you tell me about Krampus?
Ass?
Krampus.
Crunkles?
Curmudgeon.
Kronk's New Groove.
Let's just see the movie.
So we just saw Krampus. Krampus is about a family that loses the spirit of Christmas and inadvertently summons Krampus, the Austrian Christmas monster. Will they survive? Will they find their daughter? Will they relearn the true meaning of Christmas? Now you say something.
Alright, so Krampus was a really good Christmas horror movie, and for me personally, I think it was a breath of fresh air. It's one of the best Christmas movies, and it's one of the best horror movies that I feel like I've seen in a long time, and I really liked it.
Is this the best horror movie you've seen in a theater?
I liked The Visit.
We saw It Follows, but I didn't like that movie that much.
I enjoyed It Follows.
And I definitely liked this movie more than The Visit.
I think it's one of the best horror movies I've seen in theater. It didn't scare me as much as The Visit, but I liked it.
I might have to agree with you on that, because as much as I love horror, I really don't see horror movies in theaters just because of how terrible the genre has gotten. You know, when you compare it to modern horror, it's like Krampus had so much going for it. It had great monsters, it had great characters, it had people that actually tried to survive. And then you compare it to, like, The Forest, which is coming out next month, and it's just so... That character is clearly just going to wander around and constantly do bad things. She's going to actively attempt to get herself killed so that the filmmakers can have another jump scare.
I really liked when the family decided not to go outside and look for their daughter. And they chose to keep themselves safe rather than risking everyone's life just for one person.
And stuff like that kept happening. It felt so natural compared to even just the typical movie. Everything felt like everything flowed nicely. Everything felt like a natural series of events that would happen if you were stuck in that situation. And we talked about this a little bit. We think that the reason why most people in modern horror films act so badly is because that's how the writers would actually act. But that's not what you want to watch. You don't want to watch the person that's going to scream in the corner and wait to die. You want to watch the person that's going to act logically, because then you'll be with them emotionally and you'll be scared more. You'll be more scared for them, you'll be more scared with them. This movie really captured the feeling of utter hopelessness very well. And I really don't feel that a lot anymore.
Something I hear people say a lot about modern horror films is that you just want to yell at the TV and say, no, stop, or look behind you, or don't go in there, or you just want to yell at them and tell them what to do because they're being so stupid.
Yeah.
And this movie was so smart. They made really great decisions.
Even in the trailer I saw this, I loved the scene in the movie. There's the scene where they go up in the attic, and, you know, they don't split up, they don't send one guy up there, they leave, like, the Macho Man downstairs with a gun to protect the kids, and then all of the adults go up into the attic with flashlights, with, I think they only have one other gun.
Yeah, one pistol and an axe.
But what ends up happening is, since they're acting so realistically, it's even more scary to see them fail. I really liked this movie. I think it definitely deserves to be a hit. A lot of people have been claiming that it's bombing very hard at the box office. But when you look at the budget, which
blew me away when you told me how small it was.
$15 million for this movie, you could make 17 Krampuses for the budget of Avengers 2 Age of Ultron.
A lot of people were really amazed by the Jack in the Box. I thought he was really cool, and
oh my god, I loved that guy.
He was disgusting.
I loved how just odd his body language was. You felt the same way about Sam in Trick or Treat. I really felt that way about the Jack in the Box guy. It was like a giant animatronic head, and then it was like a toddler trying to crawl, and it was just like such a bizarre combination, and it was very unsettling.
And remember when they clapped? That was really...
Yes.
They had the spirit of Christmas in the way they acted. They were all so excited and giddy and hee, but to get you. And it was really unsettling and awesome.
The effects in this movie were just so good, except for the gingerbread man, which, as the credits rolled by, I realized why. It's because it was Weta. Which, if you don't know, they made the Hobbit films. That was the only part of the movie that was kind of disappointing. When the gingerbread men first showed up, I was like, oh, cool, it's gonna kind of be like... they're gonna do weird stuff, but you're not gonna see them move, and then you saw them move and it was terrible CGI. But everything else about this movie was great. I loved how funny it was right from the beginning. I was laughing so much. It was a really good dark comedy. I know we joke about that a lot, but this was actually a fantastic black comedy movie. I do wish there would have been a little bit more violence. When I saw that this movie was going to be PG-13, I instantly had the predisposition that nobody would die because it was more of like a family movie. None of the characters could really die because at the end everybody had to be okay, they had to learn a lesson. It was like going to be a family Christmas horror movie.
Yeah.
And the other predisposition I had was, oh, there's not really going to be any violence. Both of those are pretty much wrong. There wasn't like blood or gore in this movie, which if you're a huge fan of horror, that takes away a lot of the disgust element. But there was some really good moments of violence in this film.
And I think it was gross in its own way. It wasn't blood dripping down a mirror or anything like that, but it was gross.
No, that Jack in the Box was really scary. I thought the elves were scary too. I also liked those things that you never saw that like swam around in the snow.
Yes. Krampus, in my mind, he smelled bad. Like, I don't know what that was, but the way he was presented, I just knew he smelled bad. For as little as you saw of him, he was just so scary.
I really liked how Michael Daughtry treated Krampus in this movie. A lot of modern horrors treat their monsters as monsters, and in this movie he was more like a punisher.
Yes.
He was more having fun torturing these horrible people, which it was really interesting to me to watch this movie because it started out like, wow, these people are terrible, and you know, you're laughing at it, but they are terrible. and then slowly it builds up and it builds up, and you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna make it out, and then at the end it's just like, well, they were terrible people. They did deserve that. And it was just so interesting to see, to like go through that while the movie played.
They left really well. It wasn't like ticking them off one by one. It was really smart, unique ways that they all sort of left.
This movie had a very slow build-up, which I was okay with. I prefer that almost. And nothing really happened until the end. But then that's how horror should be.
Do you think all horror movies have to be like that? I mean, I liked that in Krampus, but do you think they all have to be that way to be good?
I really do think that's a pillar of horror, is that it needs to get progressively worse for the characters.
I'm trying to think of a horror movie that doesn't do that, that is good.
Like every great horror movie does that. It starts off slow, and then as it nears the end, it reaches a point where it just accelerates like crazy how much stuff is happening until the end. And the end is either the person wins or the person loses.
I like it when they lose. Would you suggest this movie to anyone?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to anybody. I mean, I think the last movie I liked this much was Kingsman. It's really funny, or at least it has really funny moments. It has enough of them. And it also has really creepy moments. And it has a really good build-up, and it has really smart characters. It has a really interesting monster. I would love to see it, no matter how bad they get, I would love to see 10 sequels just about Krampus punishing other families. I really like that he tried to make this a Christmas movie. I don't think enough Christmas movies are made anymore. I do think this is going to go down as a modern Christmas classic.
It already is in my mind. It's a classic Christmas movie. I'm so excited.
So yeah, if you didn't already see it, go see Krampus. It's really good.
Go do it.
It has my complete seal of approval.